Hi AP Seminar students, Mr. Muller here, and in this video we're going to be talking about the AP Capstone course that you're taking, AP Seminar. What is the course? How it is assessed? When are we getting assessed? How is our AP score accumulated? What is my role as a teacher? We're going to be talking about all those things in this video. Hope you're excited. I'm excited. Let's get started. Now I want to first let you know, what is the point of AP Seminar? What are we trying to learn in this course? Well, we're learning a couple of things. The first thing we're learning is how to break down an argument. If it's a video, an article, a journal article, a newspaper, how can we break down what someone is trying to prove? An argument, it's just something someone's trying to prove. So how can we break that down to claims, reasons, and evidence? How can we evaluate that argument? Can we determine if that argument's actually credible, that TED Talk that you watch or that podcast that you listen to? Why should we actually believe them? We're going to be talking about how to evaluate argument. We're going to be talking about how, if you have two particular sources, which one is more credible. We'll discuss that. We also talk about how to collaborate with peers. So one of the AP Score things that you get assessed on, one of the performance tasks, is a group paper. And you get assessed with one rubric for your entire group, for the paper and a group presentation. Now, why do we do that? Because this is what you do at university in the real world. You work in teams in order to accomplish objectives, and your success or failure is determined by the entire group. I know you're used to working in groups and just telling everyone what to do, but you have to work as equals together for a common goal. Something we also do is I teach you how to write and present arguments. So how do you write your own arguments? Once you've broken one down, you can evaluate its credibility. How do you make your own? And we're going to be doing that in a group paper, an individual paper, and part of an AP test. You're also going to be having presentations for that. Now, how is your AP score determined? The first thing is from a group paper, which consists of a 3,000-word group paper, a 1,200-word individual part of that group paper with an 800-word reflection on the research process, and a 6 to 8 minute group presentation on that research. That's going to be taking place over the first 6 weeks of, should be almost around January, mid-January, maybe even early January. And this can be on anything that your group determines. The topic is completely open-ended. The second part that you're assessed on, the second performance task, is an individual essay. This is a 2,000-word essay with an 10-minute multimedia presentation, not 20, sorry about the typo. And that is going to be on a particular theme. What's going to happen is AP is going to give you about 4 to 6 different sources, generally around a particular theme. You take one of those sources and you compare that with different interests that you have in order to develop a research question and a topic to study. Now, I will go through that process with you, so don't freak out if you don't know how to do that right now. The third thing that is part of your overall AP score is the AP test. There are 3 parts of the AP test. The first part, you break down the line of reasoning in a particular source, and then you get 2 more sources and you evaluate which one is more credible. The last part of the AP test is you're given about 4 to 6 particular sources, and you try to find a common theme, a research question, and then you actually create an essay argument. That's how you do that. And we're going to be going over that in semester 1. Now, semester 1 and 2 are very different. Semester 1 is about talking about the particular skills and concepts that are important for you to be successful on those first 2 performance tasks and the AP test. So here's what semester 1 is going to be about. First unit, which is very short, is I'm actually going to see, do you understand the concepts from all these flip videos? And I'm going to ask you to go through level 1 research and do a 5-minute group presentation. Unit 2 is all about the group paper. How do you do that? We're going to go through that process. Unit 3, the individual paper. How do you do that? We're going to go through that process. And Unit 4 is the AP test. Can you be successful on those particular sections of the AP test that you'll have in early May? Now, my role is to help you identify and reach the individual learning goals that you have set for yourself. I'm going to be doing a lot of individual conferencing, assessment modeling. We're going to be doing a lot of, really my goal is to just guide you through success. I'll give you a lot of formative feedback for you to reach your own educational goals. Because we all have different goals that we're trying to meet. My purpose is to help you achieve those. Semester 2 is actually doing those things that AP scores you on. So performance task 1, performance task 2, and the AP test. My role then changes because I can't give you specific feedback on those things you're doing. So I can't tell you, that research question isn't very specific, or, well, that evidence you're using isn't really credible. I can't talk to you about it. So what I'm going to do is a lot of assessment modeling. We'll assess exemplars. I'll make sure you understand, once again, how you're assessed, and I'll make sure your skills in evaluating argument are still really sharp. So my goal is to just make sure you're sharp as you're going throughout those performance tasks in the AP test. And then from May to June, I'm actually going to start you in AP research. That's the year. Now, there are two types of assessment that we'll be using in our course, formative and summative assessment. Formative assessment is really just seeing how you're developing in the important skills and concepts of our course. Let's say I'm looking at, can you write a specific claim? And I give you a source and I say, okay, identify the specific claim from this source. Or I give you a bunch of different sources and I say, make a claim based off those sources. I'll typically give you a checklist and or rubric to show what success looks like in terms of does not meet expectations, meets expectations, or exceeds expectations, and you'll give it a shot. I will give you specific feedback on how you are assessed on that formative assessment and why. And if you do not like how you've been scored, you can resubmit it as many times as you want before the next summative assessment. Summative assessments are end-of-unit products, so it's either the group paper, individual paper, the presentations. It's the endpoint of that unit of study and gaining those skills for the AP test. They cannot be resubmitted, obviously, and I'm not giving you specific feedback. I'll score you based off the checklist and or rubric that I've given you, but I'm not telling you specific feedback because it's end-of-unit stuff. Now, one thing I want you to remember through this process is learning is an active process you do. Smart is not something you are, it is something you get. Now, I know we all want to do really well and get an A, but what is an A? An A means nothing. What you should shoot for is learning and growing. Because if you're so fixated on getting a particular letter, that doesn't demonstrate who you are as a person or how well you've learned. Shoot for learning and growth. Because I'm telling you, in this course, you're not going to get an A at first. You're going to struggle with some of these concepts. And you have to let me help you walk through the steps for you to be successful. Now, how are things graded in this course? Summative assessments are graded as an A, B, C, D, or F. Straight. No pluses or minuses. This comes from the leading educational theorist in grading theory, Thomas Guskey, in his book On Your Mark. I do not use pluses or minuses because I want to be as accurate as humanly possible, and I'm following educational theory. Formative assessments are either given an exceeds, meets, or does not meet the criteria that I'm assessing. If you do not like how you're assessed again, you can resubmit that and I'll reassess it. Now, how am I going to communicate with you how we're doing in the course? And how am I going to communicate with your parents about how you're doing in the course? Two different ways. One are weekly videos. About every 7 to 10 days, I'm going to send an email with a video to your parents and you, letting you know what's going to be coming up in the next week. Watch those. It keeps you informed about what's coming up down the track. The second thing I'm going to do is create a weekly update document. It's a Google document I'll create at the beginning of the year. I'll share with you and your parents. There's going to be a couple of things on there. First, you're going to see process skills. Those are things that aren't assessed in terms of exceeds, meets, does not meet, A, B, C, D, F, but are important for success in the course, like engagement, participation, collaboration, and communication with me. I'll just say meets or does not meet. That lets you know if you're lacking any of those particular personal skills for success in the course. Below that will be progress skills. Those are things that I am assessing. That will include formative and summative assessments and how you've done. Below each particular skill or concept I'm assessing, I'll let you know what meets criteria means. So if you got a meet, here's what it is. If it was exceeds, it was higher. If it does not meet, it's lower. And again, I'll typically link in the rubric and or checklist used for that. At the top of the document, I'll actually let you know also how you're doing in the quarter, and I will update that every week. Typically in the video, I'll say, check your weekly update document to see how you're doing in the course. So that way you and your parents know how are you doing in relation to your personal goals of learning. Now, in these essays we're supposed to write, what's the format we're using? Are we using MLA? No. Typically, MLA is when you're looking at sources for a long period of time, and it's more related to English classes. We're going to be using APA. One, because it's the one you're expected to use in college most often, especially if you're doing business or humanities communication. Also, because we're going to be looking at a lot of particularly modern sources within the last 15 to 20 years, APA is specifically designed for those particular sources. So, one tool that you should use to help you in how you do APA is something called Purdue OWL. It's Purdue University's online writing lab. They have a great website on how you can cite sources in APA format, a lot of different examples for you, and it's also the website that I use in my grad courses. Well, that's our video. If you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Hope you learned something you did not know before. Have a great day.